You address me as Mr. Correctional Officer.
Mr. Correctional Officer, the guards and the experimenters are clearly in violation of the rules set up for this experiment, and I refuse to endorse an unfair system.
It's considered the best-known psychology study of all time. The Stanford Prison Experiment in the 1970s put students into a mock jail and left them to their own devices. The study is featured in films and taught in high schools. Guards became treacherous and terrified prisoners who revolted. Researchers concluded that human behavior is affected by the roles people are given, and that, more disturbingly, we are all just degrees away from becoming really, really sadistic. Well, that study has now come under new scrutiny. And to talk about that is the famed psychologist behind the experiment, Dr. Philip Zimbardo. Sir, it's an honor talking to you. I don't know how many conversations I've had about you over the past, 15 years or so, so it's good to talk to you on the program.
Good.
Now, your work inspired a lot of discussion about the fact that we're all almost just degrees away from being like Nazis, right? Given the right circumstances and so forth, given the right prods and pushes and the right or wrong context. But now there's research coming out that's hanging a question mark over your Stanford Prison Experiment. First of all, before I look at some of the claims, are any of them credible?
No.
Why do you think they're questioning it?
I have no idea why suddenly in June of this year, there were a number of bloggers who started criticizing the Stanford Prison study, saying they had discovered things that had been concealed. And that turns out to be all false, because after I finished the study, and then I wrote the book, The Lucifer Effect, in 2007, at that moment, I donated to the Stanford Historical Society all of the material that I had in that study. 14 hours of videotapes, 30 hours of audio tapes, all of the records, all the observations. They are in deposit at the Stanford Historical Society, and they have all been digitized and are available for anyone in the world free. So these bloggers say they have discovered something that was concealed, but that's a lie.
Right.
Everything they discovered are things that I deposited in the Stanford Historical Society.
And it's a credit to your transparency that it's all there and people can look into it if they want to, right? So let me just summarize some of the claims here. So we have Alex Haslam's team at the University of Queensland. They say David Jaffe, who was your collaborator in running the experiment, he sort of pushed and prodded a lot of these guards into committing these acts, right? So they hang a question mark over what you came out with.
Okay.
Ben Bloom in Medium, he wrote about it. He said, the Stanford Prison Experiment is a sham and a lie. He called what you did a fraud. Gina Perry in New Scientist said this was more showbiz than science. And then there's a French author, Thibault Letessier, that said that your claims were overblown and your findings hollow. So they're saying, well, okay, everything that you said happened, but they feel that you didn't really set the parameters and then press play and let things just unfold organically. You guys were pushing for a result. Is there any truth to that?
No, there's no truth to that. That's what I said, is that, I mean, I should say first for your listeners, I have responded in a 22-page rebuttal to every single critique that they raise and others, because I'm really concerned about the legacy of this experiment. In 3 years, it will be 50-year anniversary of the Stanford Prison Experiment. And the reason it's important is simply that it's the most unique and powerful demonstration of how situations, social situations, can push good people to behave badly. And therefore, the extension of that is, if we put ordinary people into positive situations, then I know that we can create heroes rather than villains. So that's the basic message. That's why I care about it after all these years.
Might it be that perhaps it might both be true, that you're absolutely right that this is what we're capable of as human beings, but the experiment itself might have been flawed in some way, and 50 years later you can say maybe we didn't do it in the most ideal way?
No. Okay, what is unique about the Stanford Prison Experiment is that all other research in the history of psychology goes for 1 hour. This was 24/7. Prisoners lived in their cells night and day. Guards worked 8-hour shifts. So because of that, and because of the videos we made, you can see the transformation of character, which is not possible in a 1-hour study. The other comparable study is by Stanley Milgram in the 1960s called Blind Obedience to Authority. But Stanley Milgram's study showed that individuals can be corrupted by powerful authorities to do bad things. But again, his study was only a single hour.
Right.
So the drama in my research is that we can see the gradual transformation of bright, intelligent college students becoming prisoners, becoming guards in their minds. And we did not push it. Now, I should say, when I said earlier that I wrote a 22-page rebuttal, it's available to anyone on prisonexp.org.
Okay.
So that's the site of everything about the prison study. And so if you go to prisonexp.org, you'll see my rebuttal. And so each thing, so let's say the thing you just mentioned about David Jaffe, who was a student playing the role of warden. He told one guard who was doing nothing, who was sitting doing nothing, that you're getting paid to be a guard. So act like a guard. He didn't tell anybody else. He told a single student who was role playing a guard that your job is you're getting paid to be a guard.
Right.
And that's, for me, that's reasonable. And that was on day one when the study began.
Right.
And never again after that did we have to tell the guards what to do.
Yeah. So for the critics, David Jaffe was essentially that man in a lab coat or that woman in a lab coat in Milgram's experiment saying, please press the button, listen to me, please press the button. They feel that you added an authority figure within the experiment. Tell me why you think that's unfair.
No. Yes, he played the role of warden. I played the role of superintendent. The warden's job was to see, as in a real prison, that the guards are doing what they are paid for. Mm-hmm. If you are a prison guard, it's a job. And your job is to maintain law and order in the prison, see that the prisoners do not rebel or escape. And as I said, and you're not listening, he told one guard on day one that he was not doing his job. And that in order for him to continue to be a guard, he has to play the role of guard. Mm-hmm. And that was one guard on day one. We didn't say that to anybody else any other time.
Yeah, and I see
so
that.
I think you're making too much.
No, and the reason I'm drilling down and I'm pushing is to get absolute clarity here, right? Because I see that, you, as you said, you put out a 22-page rebuttal, right? And I encourage our viewers to go to prisonexp.org. And the reason I push and I ask is because for a lot of people, from people who get their education from YouTube, I guess, such as myself, to people who do Psych 101, to people who do this to PhD level, this is a foundation stone in understanding Abu Ghraib, in understanding the Nazis, in understanding the killing fields, in understanding the banality of evil, as Hannah Arendt put it, right? And for a lot of them, if they see the headlines, or if they just scroll through their Twitter feed, and they see a headline that says that Zimbardo's Stanford Prison Experiment, that very experiment that you just saw showcased, played by Billy Crudup in that last movie, that thing might not be the real deal. Does that rock the foundation of everything you've done and all the conclusions that you came out with over the past 50 years?
No, I don't understand what you're doing. I'm telling you that none of those criticisms are valid, not a single one. Again, one of them say that the boy who, prison 8612, the first one who had an emotional breakdown, that he was faking. I not only challenge that, I present a video that he made afterwards saying that he was ashamed of losing control over himself, that he was embarrassed that he lost control, that he became a psychologist, a prison psychologist, Doug Corpy, 8612, in order to understand his mind better. So that's not faking it.
Yeah.
But I'm saying it's not that I just said it. We have a video of him
Right.
saying it.
Dr. Zimbardo, I know you don't believe me, but I'm a big fan. And I read The Lucifer Effect, and it's a fantastic book. And
Thank you. I appreciate
and I appreciate you coming onto the show to clarify and push back against these criticisms. Thanks for joining us here on The Newsmakers, Dr. Philip Zimbardo.